Okay, so this shows how to create an mesh and how to have already the structure that we need in order to be able to do pathfinding. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to just take one of these characters. We have here teddy bear. So I'm just going to add it to the environment. I'm going to just put it somewhere we can actually see it. So that's just a character that has several, it's a 3D model with some texture attached to it, and so on, right? One important component, you imagine that we want to make this character to move around the level, right, using pathfinding. So one component that we find very useful is something called navmesh agent. Now, you open the navmesh agent, you add the component to this particular character. You would essentially have several characteristics that allow you to define how this agent is going to interact with the navmesh, right? So first of all, you can see here the agent type. We have only designed one, but as I said before, you can have several agent types over here, and this agent type would be the one that is being generated for that. So in this case, if our navmesh agent is using agent type humanoid, it's going to assume that it's going to be using the navmesh with these characteristics, right? Then we can modify the way this agent is going to move through the path. So you can define the speed at which it's going to move, the angular speed, acceleration, the stop it distance when you are arriving at the destination. You have an auto braking, which is essentially having the same idea of the arrive steering behavior that we saw in the previous videos. And then you can also modify things for the obstacle avoidance. You might have obstacles here that are dynamic obstacles, which essentially, while following a path, this nav messaging is going to be avoiding to collide. It's going to be just modifying slightly the movement to avoid hitting them. Just a quick note on that, there's something called navmesh obstacle. I can just open it quickly. Essentially, that allows you to, you wouldn't add it to the character, you would have another object in which you add this component, and that allows you to essentially define something that is an obstacle that the navmesh is going to be particularly paying attention to, because this is an obstacle that needs to be taken into account when objects are moving around. So you can add these obstacles, and as you can see, they are very similar to colliders in the sense that they can be capsules or box, and they have the typical characteristics that you have in these colliders, right? So you would put that, you have a box somewhere else and you want to consider that as an obstacle, you would add this component to that object, okay? Okay, so now that we have this, what we're going to do is actually to be able to use this navmesh agent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this teddy bear and I'm going to create a new script. So I'm just going to create a new script. I'm going to call it, actually, let me just call this Pathfinder. It's probably not a great name, but it will do for us at the moment. So I create this script and I'm going to add it to this object and I'm going to edit it. Okay, so this navmesh agent is something that we can already use when we are working with scripts. So you can, for instance, come here and say, well, I'm going to be using navmesh agent. So I can just declare this as a variable. So you can have navmesh agent. Now, navmesh agent by itself is not recognized so far, and that is because we need to actually import the namespace that we need for that. And in this case, this is Unity engine.ai. This is the one that incorporates the navmesh agent and allows us to get it. Now, how do we get a navmesh agent? Well, you should already be familiarized with this. We just get the component of the type that we want, and because this is a component associated to this object, we can just get it like this. So we just get access to the component. And what I'm going to do is basically in the update, I'm going to always tell this navmesh agent to direct this object towards the destination of that particular target. Okay, so I'm going to do nav.setDestination. That automatically tells navmesh agent to go there. What is that? Well, this is a vector 3. Okay, it's a vector 3 X, Y, Z, where to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just assume I'm going to have a target. The one target doesn't exist, but I'm just going to add the target here as a transform, right? So I have a transform target. Okay. So this is going to be a position where I want to go, and the position, the vector of that transform is going to be the destination for my nav mesh. Okay. So if I now save here, I should see quite quickly that this, I haven't saved um, the script. Now it could show up here, which is my target, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create a new empty object just for the demonstration purposes. And this empty object, remember always to reset, it's a good idea to reset things. I'm just gonna assign this object as the target that I want to send my teddy bear to. So I'm gonna just call this target just for good naming conventions. And for my teddy bear, I'm just gonna assign this target to this position, right? There you go, we have a transform. The target is there. So if I just play test this, we'll see what happens. Well, what happens is that my camera is not allowing me to see anything. Don't forget your camera. So what I'm gonna do here is something very common in the cameras is when you have this view and you want to use this view for the camera, you can just, when the camera is selected, go to game object, and then you do align view to select it. No, that's the other way around. I was confused these two. With the camera, align with view. Now you can see now is the game is actually showing the view that I have in my scene, right? So if I play this now, my teddy bear is just going to that location, right? I can go back to the scene and basically show that if I just select this target and I keep moving it around, it's just gonna constantly following the path to that location, right? And I can, for instance, just put it in here, and it would just find its way through through the nav mesh and finding how it moves. And you can actually see also the polygons over here, and it's very reactive to what I'm doing because it's under the update method, so it can easily find its way to the destination. Of course, you can see how it's clipping sometimes through these boxes, and that essentially happens because what you can see here is that this distance to between the crate and the polygons that are workable is actually very small. So remember that we had set this in here to be very small, so you can actually modify and play with these values, so you end up getting the behavior that you want to have at the end for your nav mesh and your nav mesh agents. Nav mesh agent, the class itself, you can check in the documentation, but you have many other things that you can do with it apart from set destination. You can calculate paths, you can set paths, you can use raycast to do visibility checks as well. You can, as if you were playing an audio, you can stop it, you can resume it, so you can incorporate a stop call to stop moving it for a while, and then when you think that it's a good time, you can just resume and it would continue following the path. You can access the cost of the layers that you are at the moment going through, and you can even get the path itself. You can call a function in nav mesh agent that would give you the path, and that path would come in a format of essentially a list on an array of waypoints that could be the different points in which that form the path that is being followed at the moment, right? And you can also find out if the path is complete, if it's partial, it cannot reach destination, or if it's invalid because destination can be reached at all. So I recommend you also to take a look at the documentation, at the slides where I'm giving also this information there. But yeah, that's essentially a very easy way. As you can see, it's very easy to configure. It's very easy to have your navigation running around. And yeah, and you can definitely use this for your assignment.